Sometimes reality is scarier than any horror movie, and this story proves it. One cold February night in 2018, a call to 911 revealed a shocking truth.
911, what's the emergency?
My wife and I need an ambulance for bleeding.
You said someone was in your house?
Yes.
Tell me exactly what happened.
I don't know. Someone's in the house, and next thing I know, I wake up next to my wife and we're bleeding.
You woke up to her scream, and tall figure with ski mask starts fighting with you with a knife.
I felt something sharp.
Mike claimed a masked intruder attacked him and Susan, but the real story was far more sinister. When the cops arrived, they discovered a horrifying scene. Susan was bleeding, and the marks on her body indicated a violent struggle, while the house was unnaturally calm. The locks were undamaged, and there were no indications of the forced entry. Everything outside the house was flawless, as nothing had occurred. On the other hand, inside the house, there were more questions than answers. Detectives tried to get the details of what had happened that evening, but Mike could not satisfy them. The security camera footage was also missing, and above all, the biggest question was, why did Susan's wounds seem so intentional? Hello, friends. Welcome to True Crime Records. Subscribe now to stay updated with the latest true crime stories. Come find out as we explore the high-profile case of Mike and Susan Royell. Mike and Susan Royell were the envy of many. He was a successful businessman, and she was a charming woman. They often seen dining at high-end restaurants and vacationing at luxury resorts. Their Naplesville, Florida mansion reflected their wealth and status. But while Mike's professional life flourished, his personal life was complicated. Mike's first marriage to Dee Dee Hoffman lasted 25 years. Dee Dee described him as kind and dependable, but his workaholic lifestyle left her and their children in the shadows, leading to their quiet divorce in 2005. Shortly after, Mike met Susan, a 38-year-old nurse with charisma and energy. They married in 2007, hoping for a fresh start. In the beginning, everything seems perfect, but by 2015, tension between Mike and Susan had grown. Susan always had a problem with Mike's eldest daughter, Caroline, leading to heated arguments. Susan did not hide her dislike for Caroline, and mostly when she became furious on her actions, she would send Mike sharp, angry messages about his daughter's behavior. Susan wanted and tried to push her out of Mike's life. In an interview, Caroline told the media that how much Mike was under the control of Susan.
She had such walls around him. He wouldn't call me unless he was in a car alone. He wasn't allowed to take my call in front of her.
By the end of 2017, tension in the family had reached to a boiling point. It was the time when Caroline was planning for her wedding, and Mike was eager to fulfill all the dreams of her daughter on her big day. Initially, he allocated $100,000 for the event. However, the cost of the wedding kept increasing, and the final budget raised to $250,000. During the whole wedding, Susan remained upset. She was furious about the expenses.
The last thing I saw before walking down the aisle at my wedding was this white scar from here to here. And in my mind, I was like, what is that?
In November 2017, Mike told Caroline that Susan had physically confronted him several times on the issue of wedding expenses. One day, again on the same issue, she became so furious that she again had a fight with Mike. During the fight, she threw a phone at him and began to hit him. To Mike's surprise, after attacking on him, she herself called the police. Perhaps she was planning to present her version of events first and avoid any charges, but when the police arrived, they found the clear signs of the fight: a broken phone on the floor and overturned furniture. The officers understood that there was a quarrel between husband and wife. They verbally advised both of them to resolve their issues and left. On February 3, 2018, Mike and Susan had dinner, hoping to reconcile. Instead, it ended in another argument. Returning home separately, they went to their rooms. Around midnight, Mike entered Susan's room and a confrontation escalated. Susan later described how Mike attacked her with a knife, leaving her injured and terrified. Desperate, Susan convinced Mike to stop by promising not to file for divorce. Mike panicked, quickly fabricating a story about a masked intruder. He even deleted surveillance footage to support his claims. But when police examined the scene, they found no signs of a break-in. Surveillance footage from the restaurant showed Mike and Susan leaving separately and avoiding contact, casting doubt on Mike's story. Investigators discovered bloodstains throughout the house, indicating a violent struggle. Medical experts confirmed Susan's injuries were deliberate, not accidental. As Mike's lies unraveled, his arrest sent shockwaves through his family and friends. Dee Dee, his ex-wife, was in disbelief. "He was always kind and steady," she said. But prosecutors painted a different picture. A man desperate to avoid losing his wealth and control, driven to a reckless act. Mike's lawyers argued he was a victim in an unstable marriage, citing Susan's past aggressive behavior. They claimed Susan's injuries were self-inflicted, a desperate attempt to provoke him. But Susan's legal team countered, questioning why Mike fabricated the intruder story if he had nothing to hide. The trial revealed even more damning evidence. Mike had been registered on multiple dating sites, pursuing a life without Susan. His attempts to erase footage and his inconsistent accounts painted him as manipulative and deceitful. In December 2019, the jury delivered its verdict.
The person I heard through the evidence and the witnesses was somebody who was cold, they were brutal. On count one, the attempted first-degree premeditated murder, I'm going to sentence you to 30 years imprisonment in the park.
Mike Royell was guilty of attempted manslaughter, evidence tampering, and witness intimidation. He was sentenced to 30 years in prison. Even behind bars, Mike's dark side emerged. Rumors swirled that he tried to hire someone to harm Susan. While these claims lacked sufficient evidence, they added to his tarnished reputation. Meanwhile, Susan filed for divorce and fought for her share of the mansion. For her, the house symbolized both a traumatic past and her fight for freedom. Mike's fall from grace, from a successful businessman to a convicted criminal, is a stark reminder of how unchecked ambition and hidden resentments can destroy lives. His lies cost him his freedom, while Susan paid with her peace of mind. Who's the real villain? Who's the victim? In the end, the answers may never be fully clear. But one thing is certain: secrets, lies, and the thirst for control come with a heavy price.